Hey, you. Yeah, you. Welcome back to the Raw Recap. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Duke Bennett, aka the man of the hour, the man with the power. Too sweet to be sour. And tonight we are discussing the road to payback. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, payback is the next pay per view. It's coming up this upcoming Sunday live on the WWE Network. So tonight's Raw was the last Monday night show leading into the pay per view. And it was very interesting. You know, when it comes to these shows that lead up to the pay per view, they call them go home shows. There are a couple of things that the company is trying to accomplish. Uh, Number one, generate interest in the pay per view. They want to get more people interested, and hopefully they'll buy into the pay per view. And number two, create a good show that will generate some strong ratings for the general Monday night time slot. I'm not sure about the ratings. I will say though that the interest in the Payback pay-per-view continues to be pretty strong. In fact, I would argue that the Payback card looks even stronger than the WrestleMania card. And hopefully it will deliver in that sense because that would be a strong message for the company moving forward. So in terms of Raw, we started off the night with a tribute, in memory to the late China. That's Joni Lawler, and as we all know, she recently passed away. Really unfortunate. China was a trailblazer in the world of professional wrestling, especially when it came to women, athletic women, women who could stand toe to toe with the men and really make it happen. So, I do want to say rest in peace to China. And I thought that was a classy move by the WWE to start the show off with the photo of her in memory, what have you. Moving forward, we had Shane McMahon come out, discuss the fact that he continues to be the person running Raw, which is very interesting considering the fact, once again, folks, as we all know, he lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania. What in the world is Shane McMahon doing running Raw considering the fact that he lost his match to The Taker? That's the question on everyone's mind. Where are we going with this thing here? I mean, seriously, did the WrestleMania match even matter? Who knows? What we do know is we do like Shane. I mean, he's one of the most over characters within the WWE. The fans can't get enough of this guy. They love cheering him. And it was made even more evident when Stephanie McMahon came out and interrupted Shane while he was in the ring there, introducing tonight's Raw. It was a great segment. The fans continued to boo Stephanie practically out of the ring, which is really interesting. I mean, you talk about somebody that has significant heel heat. That's Stephanie McMahon. She sure knows how to make it happen. She can get the fans very emotional and against her, which translates into good stuff for whoever is across the ring. And you have the Shane McMahon, who is just wailed. I mean, super white meat baby faces. The fans love this guy, so it's a great dynamic to see those two on opposite ends of each other. Stephanie announced that at Payback, once again live this Sunday on the WWE Network, Vince McMahon is going to make a final decision on who will run Raw moving forward, which is pretty interesting. There's plenty of speculation going on the internet that we are gearing towards another brand split. Now, just to refresh your memory, literally, Raw and SmackDown will be treated as two separate entities within the WWE umbrella. So we could have a situation where one McMahon, most likely will be Stephanie, is in control of SmackDown, while the other, most likely going to be Shane, being in control of Raw. I personally am totally on board with this. I think a brand split makes a lot of sense, especially considering the amount of talent that is on the roster currently. They really need more time to be featured and shine, and unfortunately, it's just not enough the way that the talent is being utilized currently. A lot of folks are getting lost in the shuffle. So we had that segment there, and then the show transitioned into an AJ Styles match, which is not a bad thing. AJ Styles taking on Sheamus. Pretty solid match. Sheamus got some pretty good heel heat there. AJ continues to impress. Listen, if there's one thing about AJ Styles that we all know is that the guy can go in the ring. AJ Styles is a grade A, top of the hill talent. He should be in the title contention, which he is. He's going to be facing Roman Reigns at Payback for the WWE Championship, which is great. So this match was very interesting, but AJ still needs to work on his mic work. He's still a little off there, and he has to figure out his character. Hopefully they'll get this done real soon, because I'm starting to notice that the fans are getting a little lukewarm on the guy, especially when he starts speaking. We don't want that. AJ, like I said, he is a grade A talent. You don't want to mess this thing up here. So they really need to figure out what needs to be done, whether he needs a manager. Do we need to put him in a faction so it boosts his profile a little bit? We got to do something with this guy, because we don't want to mess up what could be a great push for him. So we had that situation. Of course, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows came out. They're being known as Anderson and Gallows for now, the former Bullet Club members. This was very strange because they came out in their brand new wrestling gear, and this is before the fact that they're going to have a match with the Usos, which came a little later on in the evening. Now, look, Anderson and Gallows, these are veterans. They've wrestled all over the world. They know what they're doing. Putting them in a program with the Usos makes a lot of sense. The Usos are great workers. The fan base understands them. The fan base cares about them one way or another. So it's good to give these guys a nice shine here. I will say, though, when we went later on into the evening, and forgive me for jumping around a little bit here, when we had Anderson and Gallows versus the Usos, something very interesting was made evident here. The fans are starting to turn on the Usos. Now think about this for a second here. Here you have a babyface tag team for many years. They got the bright colors. They do the ceremonial dance before they come out to the ring. The kids love these guys. And now they're starting to get booed. Mainly because, in my opinion, Roman Reigns. You keep pairing the Usos up with Roman Reigns, which is not a bad idea, but unfortunately, Roman Reigns is persona non grata right now. Yeah, how's that for a little bit of Latin for you folks there? That's right. So when you have Roman Reigns who's getting booed out of the building, and you have folks who are being paired up with him, unfortunately, they're going to get a similar rub, and that's what's happening to the Usos right now. It would be wise of the WWE to listen to the fans. And if we need to do some kind of turn on the Usos, just get it done. Why not? Give these guys a heel run for a little while. It'll freshen up their characters. It'll freshen up the gimmick. And it gives you a little bit more room to work with there. So once again, very interesting what's going on with the Usos. I don't know what's going on with Anderson and Luke Gallows. We'll see where that goes. These guys really need to be in a faction in order for them to grow, and they need some more mic time. In the ring, they look pretty decent. A little rusty, which is understandable, but overall these guys can work, and in the long run, they're going to be just fine. Speculation that they'll be paired up with Finn Balor, who recently lost his NXT title to Samoa Joe. That just happened over the weekend. So speculation is running rampant that Finn Balor will be on the main roster, and it could be as soon as Payback, the pay-per-view. Stay tuned, folks. We'll see what happens there. A couple of other notable things that happened this evening that was very interesting. Chris Jericho. This guy is putting on some of the best work that we've seen in years. I mean, the ridiculous scarf that he's wearing, and, as was described, the Bon Jovi haircut, and some of the things that he says to his opponents, which is very interesting. He calls them stupid idiots and all these other things. You would think he was cussing somebody out the way Jericho was speaking. I mean, come on. You would think you were back in the Attitude Era, but no. Hey, listen, these are above waist words here that he's using, but they sting because Jericho knows how to deliver, and it's perfect. really get a kick out of watching Chris Jericho. This program that he has going on right now with the lunatic fringe there, Dean Ambrose, can only help Ambrose. I mean, it's going to elevate his profile. The guy needs it because there's nothing else going on for him right now. The company could have went a certain way with Ambrose. They could have turned him heel, or they could have just put the title on him because he has been a workhorse. But they decided to stick with Reigns. So what's Ambrose to do? Well, put him in there with Chris Jericho, top heel in the company, and let's go. So that should be an exciting match that we'll see at the pay-per-view, and who knows where Ambrose will go from there. But really interesting stuff. And another thing I'll say, transitioning while we're talking about good heels, how about The Miz? The Miz has his lovely wife, Maurice, back. He's doing this movie star gimmick, which never gets old. He is hilarious. Some of the things that he has going on right there, once again, he's going to elevate whoever he's in the ring against, very much like Chris Jericho. In fact, The Miz mimics Chris Jericho in a lot of ways. They're good friends, and The Miz looks up to Jericho, and you can really see in The Miz's mic work and his character development work that he's following Y2J. And that's not a bad idea. It works. A couple other notable things going on. This Apollo Crews, which we touched upon last week. He went against Cody Rhodes this evening, which wasn't a bad match. Stardust. So I guess the artist formerly known as Cody Rhodes. Yeah, that's a plug there for Prince there, rest in peace. But they took on each other in the match, and it was okay. I'm still not too sold on this Apollo Crews. I was very excited when he first came into the company, but he still needs to find his own. And my biggest issue with Crews is that he doesn't sell. And maybe that's because the company wants to push him strong. He has to give a lot of offense while he's in the ring. But I would love to see him in a position where he's vulnerable, he's getting beat down, and then he makes a strong comeback. Give the fans something to care about. Because right now, he's just a guy that smiles too much and does a lot of fancy flippy moves, which is great, but he's going to start getting booed if you're not careful, which is not what you want, because he could be a very marketable babyface there. So stay tuned for Apollo Crews to see what happens next with him. Who knows? One of the strangest announcements that came about this evening is that Ryback is going to be facing Kalisto for the millionth time at the pay-per-view. That's going to be on the pre-show. Surprise, surprise. You take a guy like Kalisto, who is a pretty solid talent, and you keep wasting him, putting him on pre-shows. I mean, give me a break. He's an exciting talent who should be featured on the main show, especially considering the fact that he is the United States champion. I mean, for the life of me, folks, I do not understand what the heck WWE is doing. They're just wasting this talent here. But moving on, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has this great feud with Sami Zayn that goes back over a decade, and they had a great video package discussing their situation with each other, and even later on, Sami Zayn got attacked by Kevin Owens, which is just great stuff. The heel beating up on the babyface. You know that at the pay-per-view, Sami Zayn is likely going to either beat Kevin Owens or come really close, and then Owens is going to cheat to win. I love it. I'm all in on this. It doesn't need a championship, but at some point these guys really do need to have some belts put on them because they're outperforming most of the roster at this point. You know, a couple of MVPs there. I look forward to seeing these guys wrestle anybody, but especially when they're wrestling against one another. So, good stuff. By the way, we had Lana come out with Rusev, and, you know, it's kind of interesting to see these two. Lana is so over. The fans chant her name. They love her, yada, yada, yada. But only when she's with Rusev. Let's not forget, when she was paired up with Dolph Ziggler, no one really cared about her. She looked ridiculous. But as soon as she's back with Rusev, that package, it just works. And with this whole League of Nations nonsense fizzling out, it would be great to put Lana and Rusev back together and have Rusev be the guy who yells at the fans for chanting Lana's name. Let's go back to that gimmick because it worked. He was a monster before. He can be a monster again. Love to see that combination do well once again. And speaking of League of Nations, we already covered Sheamus. We just covered Rusev. How about Alberto Del Rio? The guy's getting babyface pops. Babyface pops, folks. He was in the main event tonight against Roman Reigns. Solid in there, although Roman Reigns accidental headbutt into Alberto's head. I'm calling it accidental, but who knows? Maybe, I mean, Reigns is kind of sloppy in the ring. But he busted Alberto open a little bit. Alberto Del Rio really needs to be on his own unless you're going to pair him back with Ricardo Rodriguez. But here's a guy that the fans want to cheer. He's handsome, in excellent shape, probably the best worker on the roster at this point. Let Alberto be Alberto. Stop holding this guy back. He makes everybody else look good in the ring as well. Come on, WWE. Do something with our boy. Seriously. So, then we transition into the ladies, which was really an afterthought. We had Natty take on Emma, which, Emma with her new heel gimmick looks great. I'm not against it. Natty, solid worker, of course. Charlotte came out and she was on commentary with her father, Nature Boy Ric Flair. But they were treated as an afterthought, folks. And really, the women have been outperforming the men overall for the past year. So the fact that they were treated as an afterthought on the show is just really embarrassing. The WWE needs to commit to women's wrestling. Okay? Let me repeat that again. Commit to women's wrestling. Stop playing games. Advertise the matches. Give proper build-up. Let's go. Okay? Enough of the nonsense here, folks. Seriously. Overall, I will say this, though. I'm very excited to see this pay-per-view coming up. I think it's going to be interesting. They just announced today that John Cena will be back by Labor Day, which will be very interesting. Memorial Day. That'll be very interesting. The roster has missed Cena, and I think that he can add something strong to it. The other thing is, you have a person like Sasha Banks who's still underutilized, but she's undefeated. They're looking to do something with her where she may win the Women's Championship at SummerSlam. So the build for that really needs to be kicked into high gear here. We'll see what happens. And there's still the speculation of what's going to happen with the NXT folks who are next in line to get called up. I mean, when you have a situation where Kana has the belt now, or Asuka as she's known as now, well, then what do you do with somebody like Bayley? I mean, once again, we're talking about serious women's wrestling here, and the WWE really needs to capitalize on it. And last but not least, you have the New Day, who were in the ring with the Vaudevillains, and they also had our boys there, Enzo and Cass, just talent through the roof. These three teams in the ring together. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. If you put the New Day in there against Enzo and Cass, then who's going to play heel? If you have two babyface tag teams going up against each other who are big time over, who's going to play heel? So that's going to be a real tough situation that is on the horizon there, but something needs to be done because Enzo and Cass are so over right now. They really need to get some kind of shine. Although if you do a brand split and you bring back a second set of tag team championships, maybe that is the solution to this big problem here. We'll see, folks. We'll see. So, as we said, this upcoming Sunday, we have the Payback pay-per-view live on the WWE Network. Overall, I'm excited to see what it's going to be like because I anticipate it'll be better than WrestleMania. This go-home show on Raw was okay. Could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse as well. We do have SmackDown coming up this upcoming Thursday. I expect to see a lot of this stuff continue that we saw tonight, but nothing too major because you don't want anyone getting injured right before the pay-per-view. We will see. That's it for now, folks. You can expect a preview for Payback coming up this upcoming Sunday right before the pay-per-view, so stay tuned. Keep your ears open. And in closing, just want to say, be good to everyone, especially yourself, but most of all to others. All right, this is the Duke signing off. Respect.